Hey, switch you around here. All right, man, we're trying something a little bit different. Just kick it right off. So this is Tall Tales with Taco and Sabby, and we're just shooting the bull tonight. I tried to get this thing pushed over onto our Tag Nation. So if you're listening to me and you're part of our Tag Nation, um, do me a favor, see if you can share that link over on the Facebook page. Rebel Scum, our Tag Nation, anything like that. I cannot for the life of me get that stupid thing to pop up in my Facebook. So Facebook is not being kind to me today, Sabby. What is up with that?
Man, I don't know what the deal is, bro. Facebook's evil. Mark Zuck, man's a billionaire.
Yeah, I tell you what. Yeah, guy sucks, but hey, you know what? He worked hard for his money, so you can't
That's
complain.
right. He's
You
he's
can't.
not even an airline pilot, so go figure. I guess there's other rich people besides you and I.
Dude, I tell you what, I've been looking forward to this. I've needed a vacation from my vacation from my vacation.
Have you really?
I took off for a week. We did 7 days over in Paris. We took 68 veterans with World War II veterans with American Airlines. I can wear my shirt proudly here. And we flew over to Paris, and then we took them down to Normandy, which was incredible. And the reason I bring this up is because there are lots of opportunities within our airline. Delta had a crew go over with Donnie Ego, Best Defense, or whatever Donnie's name is. I can't remember. United brought a couple people over. We brought 68, a complete medical team with 3 doctors, a bunch of nurses, folks to take care of these guys because they were between 98 and 100. The oldest was 107 years old, man.
Are you
Amazing.
serious?
Oh, yeah. But,
107.
107 years old. But within our airline, American, we have lots of opportunities that everybody can participate in and volunteer. Salute to the troops. We do take the vets down to Vegas. We do the Snowball Express. We do the honor flights. We do so many different things that everybody could raise a hand and volunteer. And I throw a lot of that stuff out there sometimes. Hey, I got a great deal. Anybody in the area want to do this? Definitely raise your hand. It's well worth it. It's rewarding, enjoyable. You get to see some really cool stuff, meet some great people. And anyway, I got back from that, literally turned right around, spent the night, jumped in the car. We drove up to Broken Bow, Alabama, or Oklahoma, where I am enjoying some, I'm going to give them a plug, Timber Creek Ale. Man, I'll tell you what, this is relaxing. So I hope you don't mind me abiding.
I don't buy, but I got my hardcore Spindrift sparkling
Ah,
water. Tess
sparkling
said I
water
could
will
be.
work.
She said I could be fat or ugly. I had to pick one.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'm
All
just
right,
kidding.
dude. So let's kick this off. What do you want to hit that people need to know? And there's a lot of hungry folks out there that are interested in what you have to say. So
Oh,
what you got for me there, big guy?
well. Oh, we got a question already from PDK. Who's that? I don't know who that is. Who is that? How do you choose a good regional?
It's a
That's
good
a good
question.
one. Why don't you start? What do you think? What do you think?
Well, I never went to the regionals. So
That's right. You're fixed wing mill guy. Well, I
yeah,
think the way to
I
pick
came
it.
from I came from C-130s to American. I mean, I just transitioned. The day I got out was the day I got hired. So I was blessed, and God looks after drunk idiots and Marines every now and then.
Well, I mean, and rightfully so. The fixed wing mill guys and gals have always been able to come straight to a major. That's kind of the thing. You think about the bomber mafia. They came right out of World War II and probably built the airlines up, from that point.
Oh, dude,
Um,
the my very first airplane ride in 1971, I was on a 7.2 Shorty from DCA to Knoxville, and I remember that guy sitting there with the big Ray-Bans on, smoking cigarettes, had his charts hanging over the railing to block the sun, and that guy was probably World War II back then, and
Probably, yeah,
all right,
yeah.
so he was probably a World War II guy still flying in the 70s and probably ready to retire. But to get back to PDK's question, also, how long will regional pay rates stay high? Any ideas? Let's go back 26 years, PDK. Here's the deal. When I got hired at American, the regional guys who got hired with me in my class were somewhere around, they'd been there, they had 5 to 7,000 hours at a regional before they were picked up by American. 5 to 7,000 hours. Those guys also
7,000 is that it's all fixed wing too. We wanna make sure people understand that.
yeah, that was
Yeah,
like regional time, right? They were flying Saabs or they're, because it was all Saabs back, not Saabs, Super ATRs and the ATRs and, the big, turboprops.
right.
But those guys had thousands and thousands of hours, and, oh, by the way, when you went to a regional back in '98, you had to pay for your rating. So not only did you make crap money, $20,000 a year, you had to pay them $15,000 a year or $15,000 to get your type rating because they knew you'd jump ship and go somewhere, you
Yeah,
know?
because that's and that's the way it always was. I mean, even many years later when I was, first looking at the airlines, that was still the case. I mean, into the 2000s, that was a normal thing, you know?
Yeah,
I
you had
think
to pay money for that.
I think, my uncle was probably, like, 25 years before he made captain.
Yeah.
And I tell people that I talk to people almost every day, and I usually share that factoid, and you can hear the audible gasp from across the internet from the other line, and they cannot believe it. But that's one of the blessings and curses of the charity and the group is that we fought real hard to get a place at the table, and the industry embraced us, but yet we don't really have that long-term foundation of knowledge base. If you're outside looking in right now, you don't really know what the norm was 50 years ago or even 10 years ago. So it can
Right.
be kind of a shock when you see the pendulum maybe shift a little bit closer to center, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's, the folks that are getting hired now, the folks that got hired in 2020, right before COVID, and they quote got furloughed, and they got they got pay. They came back and stayed current and stuff like that. That's not really getting furloughed. They can call it furlough, but it's not. The guys
Yeah,
that my buddies that were out for 12 years with no pay, that's furlough, right? They had to go find
right.
other jobs, stay in the military or whatnot. The industry, as you and I have spoken offline, with even 650, 700 retirements a year right now, there is no way if they had to furlough, that means the company's going out of business because there's no way the company can operate without the influx of pilots.
Right.
Now, vice versa, can I God, I know I'm people are gonna spit at me for this. Um, you the I wanna say that the minimums and the ability to get hired by United, Delta, and American had really dipped lower post-COVID because all of a sudden they really needed to get people. So if you had the bare minimums, you were gonna get hired. And that and
Yeah.
you
Hey, you know what?
as well, but
I call that the big dig. That's the term I use when they had to dig down and get dirtbags like me, to fill seats. But that I mean, serious. No, all jokes aside, I mean, it was a dig, and let's be fair. I mean, that's
it's
exactly what they did.
it's going to go back up. The minimum requirements are gonna go back up. The training cycles, that are happening right now, and I am gonna state this officially, I do not speak on behalf of my airline. I am
Same here.
speaking yeah, I'm speaking as a, observer of things, all training things that happen, so take that all with a grain of salt. Um, you I'm just trying to make people better and come better prepared. This If you make it to the big all right, so here's the problems I see right now, and this is gonna it just kill me to say it.
No,
People
it's
are getting
we need to hear this taco.
people are getting hired minimum time, right?
Hmm.
They make it through training with failures. They don't
Mm.
complete a
Mm.
section, they have to go back. They may fail their MV, or they may fail the loft, or there are different segments through training that they may fail. Now, going into
Right.
that, they have never been, if they're a helicopter guy coming from RTAG, most likely, we've weeded through a lot of the war guys. Um, the the amount of PIC time that we're seeing now is really decreased in terms of the helicopter PIC time. The days of the 3,000 hour Apache guy, 47 guy, 60 guy getting shot at in the war left and right. Those guys have already gotten hired. They're gone. Now we're getting the folks that are bare minimum time.
See,
That being
I never thought about that. That's interesting. I hadn't thought of it like that. That's pretty insightful.
well,
So you're saying that
they don't have the PIC time that your level had that were getting hired. So I think they
true,
take a great amount of respect of that PIC time. And you may say, "Oh, it's helo time." But that helo time, PIC time, especially getting shot at. If you're in the war, you're getting shot at, you're thinking about fuel, weather, load, the whole 9 yards. There are so many computations going through your mind, and I feel that the level of quality of PIC time has gone down because it's bare minimum. Nothing against your bare minimum time. It's just bare minimum. Now,
right?
back that up with you get into the schoolhouse and then maybe you run into an issue. We do everything in our power to make sure you get through. Our job, AQP, our job is to make you, we embrace you. This isn't a weed out the weaklings. This is, if you're weak, we want to make you better because I want to be able to put my family in the back of your jet.
Right.
So we embrace and we do everything in our power to help you and give you extra training and all of that because you have made it to your dream job, the majors. What we're seeing, how do I say this without screwing up? What is happening is, let's hypothetically say somebody out there who gets hired, he or she is on the line and they're on reserve. And they're first thing you always do as a new hire is you go in there and you put in captain everywhere because that's what everybody does. They sit there, they're so excited. They go, "Hey, I'll be Captain LaGuardia. I'll be Captain Miami. I'll be Captain everything. Airbus, Captain 777." They put it all in there in the system. And before they know it, 18 months later, those guys are upgrading. Now they only have like 400 hours as a co-pilot. 400 hours, frankly, is nothing. You have not seen the system. You haven't seen how the system operates. You haven't run into all of the MEL conditions and situations that, for example, in December, I had a new captain upgrade, and he was an 1800 month or 18-month wonder. We get into the jet, and it has no APU, and we have to de-ice. We're going to St. Paul, Minneapolis, and he says, "Hey, let's get a new jet." And I said, "For what?" He said, "Because we don't have an APU." I go, "This is your last flight, so if I sign you off tomorrow and you get a jet with no APU, are you going to call dispatch and tell them you want a new jet?" He says, "Well, yeah." And I go, "But why? Have you ever done an external air start cart, start?" "No." I said, "Great
What?
training, right? Have you ever done cross bleed start?" "No." I said, "Then this is great training."
Welcome to the
You know,
319s in summer. You've got to do them like every week,
Yeah, well,
at
no,
least once a
and
trip.
I'll say
Yeah.
this, and I told him that. I go, "Look, man, I will not accept a jet in the summertime, neither should any one of you, in the summertime heat without an APU because it will not ever get cool, and it's not that it's doubly uncomfortable for you because of the heat from the instrumentation, but the passengers, what you're putting them through. And if my dad was sitting in the back at 90 years old, um, and he's sitting back there in 90 plus sweltering heat with the emergency jacket trying to fan himself because we can't get enough air to cool them off, well, then you're doing a disservice to the people that pay your salary, right?
Right.
So let's
Absolutely.
go back. This guy upgraded because if I'm sitting on reserve as an FO, quote, I might as well make more money as a captain and sit on reserve. That was the wrong answer with only 400 hours.
Yeah.
Um, and it reflected in the training, which let's just say hypothetically, there unfortunately are situations where people don't progress. The training doesn't help, and they end up. This is the negative side of that. They end up going before a board, whether or not they are retained. And if that happens, then what are your perspectives? Where can you actually go um, from there? You know, where I mean, where would you be able to go if
You're
you
not going
have
to another legacy. You're not going to go laterally. You're
no?
probably going to have to go somewhere much lower in the tier system, if you want to call it that. Ply your time, get 3 or 4 or 5 check rides, recurrence, initials underneath your belt, prove yourself, and then have a really good story, explanation of why you didn't pass that ride.
Well,
That's
that's I mean,
tough.
you're already there. So here's my advice, guys and gals out there in La La Land. If you do get hired at United, Delta, American, FedEx, whatever, do not put your request in for captain. Sit back. You've done this. You've got 1,500 hours in the jet now at American.
No, I've got more actually yeah, American alone. Yeah, I say I've got
Yeah,
more
you've
time
got
in jets now than I did in Blackhawks in the Army.
yeah. You know your time in the Airbus is and you're seeing everything like we discussed. You're seeing the MELs and the broken jets and the situations, the weather, the fuel, the decisions. I'm going on Cabo San Lucas. Well, I've never been there before. Oh, you go down there with what they assign you on fuel, and now you live and learn because all of a sudden that caravan blew a tire on landing. You have to divert. Well, gosh, do I have enough gas to do that? You know, um, so many different little things and aspects of flying that gives you that experience. Being in the left seat is not just, hey, I'm a captain now. Yeah. There are so many decisions every
Mhm.
single minute that you have to make. And I'm just begging and pleading with everybody that's listening to me is don't take your time, enjoy your seniority as an FO, get 1,000 hours as an FO before you even think about coming over to the left seat so that you can see stuff and enjoy it. Sounds like you're going to the bathroom.
I promise I'm not. But this is what I
Do
think
you
about
do you
people
agree? I mean,
upgrading early.
am
100%, man. Well, yeah,
what I'm
you made
saying
a good point. You made a good point. I was like, well, I don't see a lot of my peers. I have some peers that never deployed and never went to combat, and they're kind of in that initial RTAG group. Whatever things happen. But for the most part, yeah. I mean, Tim and a lot of those guys, they've had 35, 45, 5,500 hours in a helicopter. You're right. That group is gone. I was down in Fort Rucker doing a little event to help folks. And I was finding out that, we used to take about 700 to 1,000 hours to upgrade in the Army because, it's like a year and being at home for a little while. Now people are upgrading with, just a couple hundred hours.
yeah.
Unheard of. People making instructor pilot in half the time it used to take. And that's just there's no war to go get experienced in like there used to be. So you're right. Now that is changing the dynamic of not say the quality, but the experience level of the folks coming out of this community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my advice is get in, everybody wants their seniority number. I get it. But if you just got hired at a regional, and Eric's going to hit on this, if you got hired at a regional at and you have less than, you know, uh, get your 1,000 hours in the right seat at a regional so that you can see how 121 stuff works. And you get to fly with an entire plethora of captains, good, bad, or indifferent guys.
Right.
All right, folks, guys and girls that you do like or you don't like. And how did that person handle this situation? How would I take notes? How would I do better? win that. Read that book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. You're a chameleon as an FO. You have to blend in with how your captain is, right? And that's what
Hmm.
forces or makes a lot of people make that decision. Well, I might as well upgrade because I don't want to be flying with any of these jerks. Somebody said to me, if their seniority number is under 3,000, they're grumpy. Yes, they are. They are grumpy, and I guarantee you they're grumpy. So, but they have a lot of experience. That gray hair has a lot of experience in it. Ask them the questions, build up that rapport with them, and find out some of the things that they've encountered that you will encounter. You may get that odd thing one day. Um, I guarantee you the aircraft that went off the runway in Jamaica. Jamaica's not an easy airport, and with the storms and the weather, it's non-grooved. And if you haven't learned a history lesson, we had an airplane go off the end of the runway years ago and went into the rocks. So, if you're a new pilot and you don't have that memory bank of what happened, you probably ought to go back and review that stuff. That's why I like those accident shows. My wife's like, "Why the hell are you watching this?" And I go, "Because I might learn something to save my life one day."
The more Tess watches those shows, the less likely she is to non-rev with me somewhere cool. So I don't know what to do. Do I show her the video? She sometimes watches them. I'm like, why are you watching it? You're just gonna upset yourself. Don't do it. These things never happen to anybody. And then she'll say, "Oh yeah, I got a Newsweek magazine that says something very similar." I'm like, "Oh yeah, well it never happens twice." Yeah, no, it's all good points, and I'm glad you made it. You made you commented on that because it's something no one's talking about. We are upgrading overall at record times. People are getting hired at record times, and I didn't think about it. Like you said, the military is producing pilots with record low experience. We haven't probably seen this since the days of the rifts and the early '90s with the drawdown from Desert Storm during Desert Shield and stuff like that too.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
somebody gave me a recommendation. Hey, I got this Air Force guy. He's C-130 dude, and I'm looking at his resume, and I go, "You have bare minimum hours, and then um, 850 or something like that." I go, "My recommendation is go to the regionals." Oh, you don't think he's ready for majors? No, go to the regionals and go build up your time there, and then come over. That was
and
my
the good
recommendation.
and the news flash is that I've been preaching this for an entire year. Look, if you could skip the regionals, that's great. If you go directly to a Frontier, Spirit, Elite, and Sun Country, JetBlue, Breeze, or Velo, you're not going to upgrade as fast, probably. You're at a major, you're not at a regional, so there isn't the attrition. A lot of people stay at those. They're not really lifeboat companies, and some of them are destination places for people, and so they don't leave, and so the upgrades don't come as fast.
Mhm.
So you're getting a different kind of experience. Certainly valuable. You're getting more money. It's certainly a little bit maybe more secure in a lot of ways, and you're getting the time and the type. So you go to American, you're like, hey, I've already got 2,000 hours in the 737. That's very valuable. So that might weigh differently depending on how the airlines choose to value that different kind of experience. But just because you might have missed that direct to major thing doesn't mean that the industry is over. PDK 764 says, "How do you choose a good regional?" Personally, for me, the one you can drive to, but that's not the whole story. I would not tell you that a wholly owned's a bad move because for some people it's great. I mean, we hire a lot of wholly owned pilots at the legacies, right? But maybe you might want to consider, would I be able to upgrade and get to an airline faster? We saw this past year where, for instance, United said that they would not look at SkyWest pilots unless they had 1,600 hours of captain time. Would that same SkyWest pilot with a couple thousand hours in a jet, half of that in the left seat, stand a good chance at one of the other legacies at an earlier date than if they were to wait an extra over half a year at SkyWest? The answer might be yes.
Right.
So don't think of it. Pilots and they think with their emotions when it comes to their careers. I see, and recruiters. Well, I mean, how many Marine Corps recruiters do you know would raise their right hand and say, I will defend the Constitution and give my life if I need to, right? How many recruiters do you know would do that in this industry, though? So you got to think about this. If you have a horror story about a recruiter, I'm not saying recruiters are bad. Some of my best friends are recruiters, but they have a job, and that's to recruit people. So you got to do your own due diligence and say to yourself, okay, this pathway or this program or this money sounds great, but is it really what's best for me and my family? More importantly, if you think of it like a business person, who has to replace you at that regional? It's not going to be that regional necessarily. You can think of it. They're not, they get money from the companies that they fly for. So eventually, ultimately, ipso facto, it's going to go back to that company you're trying to get hired at. So maybe you be a little more tactical when you think about that. Now, ultimately, I think to answer the question a little bit further, you want to be at airlines you can actually upgrade, because that's the point, right? You're at a regional,
Right.
For that reason. You're going to need 1,000 hours in the left seat, then you can move over. But just because you get hired at an airline doesn't mean that you're going to be able to be at that domicile. You've got to dig deeper. You've got to know, is this domicile junior? And if you're young or you're a family that's willing to go through airline boot camp, then maybe that means moving to Newark and flying with GoJet because it's a fast upgrade and you're going to get off reserve. You're going to get more flight time. Your goal should be to fly as much as you can. When I'm looking, my first year at American, I'm flying. We have VMAX. I was FAR VMAX because I'm flying as much as I legally can. I mean, I'm getting 12 days off. Could I enjoy more? Sure, I could have. But I was like, I'm going to get in here. I'm going to drill down. I'm going to bust my tail rotor to fly as much as I can. Learn this operation, how American does business, and soak it all in. You can relax later. You know, why not drill down and get to a regional with a domicile that works for your family, where you can fly a lot, upgrade quickly, and build that 1,000 hours of turbine PIC? Because if you're not doing that, our taggers, guess what? The civilians over on Aviation Career Mentorship and other sites, that's what they're thinking all along. They didn't even probably catch the direct to major phenomenon fully like you had an opportunity to. So go over there and with the same attitude, get the regional job. And that brings up another question down here that I think PDK had. How long will the regional pay rates stay high? Those are letters of agreement that a lot of them expire in 2026. Does that mean that those airlines or the parent companies are going to cut the pay? I don't know. I don't think anybody could be honest in saying that they do know. But I can tell you that
nobody knows. But I mean, in this day and age with the shortage, you can rest assured we've got the leverage as pilots. You guys have the leverage as pilots.
But if something were to happen, economic disaster, contentious election, something, a foreign conflict, a pandemic, then it could happen. I mean, certainly after 9/11, right.
Anything could happen. I mean, but I go back to if you do get on with the regional, fly as much as you can in the right seat, then go over to the left seat, get your 500 hours, 1,000 hours PIC time, and then put your applications out. It will help you later. Trust me when I say this, it will help you later. If you want to take and roll the dice and make it to one of the big three and you don't make it through, then you'll look back on this conversation and you'll go, wow, was that the best decision? But it's your decision to make. I'm just trying to give you the 20,000 foot view from the training aspect and looking at how things go that would make better qualified candidates.
And I'm not an instructor at the 121 level. I've instructed elsewhere. Heck, I've been teaching since 1994, teaching music. So, but in my opinion, you can correct me if I'm wrong, people will hear things like, don't study ahead. We'll teach you the way we want you to teach. I think that's ludicrous. I tell guys, if you're going to a 121 training event, an initial, an ATP type rating, and you don't, the day you show up, you don't have the flows, profiles, callouts, emergency procedures, limitations, and the system's on lockdown. call in sick. Do not show up. Don't even think about walking in that door. I don't care what you're told. Go so that you're just, I mean, have it all done. You have to have that verbatim. I mean, Pavlov's dog, you have to have it. But
Yeah.
I still hear guys who say the company said, "Oh, don't worry about it. We'll teach you." Get that
Yeah.
information and learn it, man.
Yeah, they've gotten away so much from, schoolhouse training. It's now computer-based, and you're using the little computer programs for the systems or for, um, all those programs. I mean, I remember when I went from the 7.6 to the 777, they were just starting the whole deal, or was it the 7.8? No, I take it back. I was on the 777, and I got awarded the 7.8, and they go, "Hey, you're now, um, tied in to do your training, so you have to get your training done." So I got my training knocked out in like 2 trips down in Sao Paulo. I was down there for, 48 hours or whatever. And so I got
Mhm.
all of my computer-based training done. And then I got locked out of it, and I didn't show up for training until November. And when I showed up day 1, I go, "Hey, when do we start ground school?" And the guy goes, "Oh, you already had it. That was the computer stuff." I'm like, "Oh, crap."
Oh, no. Are you
Because I'm
serious?
locked out, and I kinda brain dumped that about 3 months ago. He goes, "Well, you better unbrain dump it," and so I literally had to do, the ASM and, AOM, what they call it back then, part 1, part 2. I had to sit there and every night, before whatever systems we were talking about, study the living crap out of that stuff just to, be set for the next day. That training was a mouthful. It was much similar to the 777, but it was different. So, yeah, boy, you get that all those training things, watch those, units and review it. Don't do it and just kinda cursory. Go back and watch it 2 times.
Get it down, own it, and that way you can go and you can relax. It's such a great time. I love the way our airline, not to, boost a company above another, but I love the way our company does training. They're very super thorough, but the price of admission is that you got to know your stuff. You can't go to recurrent not prepared. They can tell if you're not prepared. They can tell if you didn't study before initial. Another great thing about our company is I've almost always, well, I have here always been with a captain or an upgrade. So we're working together, and I found
Oh,
that
you're lucky.
everyone's. Yeah, I am, and I
Because
found a.
I see a lot of FO, so
Do
it's
you
the
really?
blind leading the blind. I
Yeah.
mean, you'll be lucky if
Well,
you get a captain that knows the airplane. He came off the airplane and now is upgrading, then that makes the roles distinguished and, separated, and you're actually learning from their experience. "Oh, no, 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 we do it this way and blah, 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 blah." Where
that's
the
never been
other
an option elsewhere for me. I've never seen that other places like that.
Yeah, because we don't have the captains to fill the spot or whatever, we may have 2 FO to FO.
Yeah.
Um, when you were talking about recurrent coming back, I'll ask a question like, "Hey, have you read this fleet bulletin
You have
about?"
to read those. You know you're gonna get asked that.
But they
I mean,
don't.
come on.
They don't. So listen, when you come back to recurrent, do me a favor. Get current on all of your fleet bulletins and, the company bulletins, read the safety, magazine, the brief, in the safety stuff, and just kind of be familiar with all that stuff. It drives me nuts when I'm sitting there talking about, um, oh God, LWE, for example, liquid water equivalent. LWE has been around for a year and a half, and distance learning had LWE in the section forever, right? And I'd go, "So, what's LWE?" And they have that deer in the headlight look, and I'm like, "Come on, really? You don't know what LWE is? Have you
It's
de-iced this winter? Yeah. You don't know what
oh, it's so
LWE is? Have
easy.
you read
It's
your
so easy with
bulletin?"
the I mean, it's idiot proof. The hot app does everything for you. I mean,
Yeah, but
It's
there are certain things about LWE that you gotta know,
right,
like,
right, right.
5 minutes prior to takeoff, you gotta
Right.
re
You gotta know, and you gotta know
refresh
what you
it.
do, your flaps and all that good stuff. Yeah, it's just but if they don't operate in the Northeast, I love the Northeast. It's my favorite. I actually bid for Northeast trips because I love the Northeast and the East Coast, so I'm used to it.
Yeah.
But then there's some things I don't see. Well, that's good stuff. Let's see.
You got some other
So I hope
questions,
that
I know.
yeah, I know. Let's see. I appreciate you guys doing this. Blah 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 blah. Fuller. Moving to 747, man. MW says SkyWest is offering an earlier class date if a cadet signs a contract that requires either 1,600 hours to PIC to go to UAL or DAL. Basically, it's a flow program. If you exit SkyWest before 1,600 hours or do not go to UAL, DAL, you owe 80 grand. You know, it's almost like a type rating where, you pay for your own type rating, yet it's on the backside, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, and welcome. This is exactly, what we're talking about. This is the
Oh,
way it's going to be go. 80 grand, 80
oh, 80
large.
grand.
Whew,
Oof.
okay.
Michael Gray, here's one. For those of us that are just at restricted ATP men's, so what is that, 850? Do you think that we have a shot at the regionals in the current market, as I know that they are not hiring till after the summer flying is
Okay.
over?
I could say
Answer
this,
that.
and I'll take this one. I could say this on our Tech Nation every single day, and I'd say 99% of the people on there are still not going to see it. And that's why I continue to see it over and over again. Michael, you've got one of the 5 reasons. Okay. Let me see if I can remember them all. First of all, you're right. After summer flying, Taco, how much income do we make as an airline during the peak summer months? We make a lot of our income for the year, right?
It's just incredible. Yeah.
It's like it's got to be over 70% or something like that. Some crazy number. It's high, whatever it is, it's ridiculous. So, yes, Michael, you're right. That's one reason. What's some other reasons? Well, let's talk about the aircraft delivery problems. Not only has Boeing been having issues, but Airbus is in demand, so they're having issues. And none of these folks can just shift and start producing airplanes out of thin air. If the legacies, the American Delta, United, Hawaiian, Alaska, Southwest, the low cost, and the 7 Ultras, Frontier, Spirit, Allegiant, Sun Country, JetBlue, Breeze, Avella, Southwest, all those companies, if they're not getting their planes, then they're not bringing people up to fly with them because there's no planes for them to fly. That means people are staying down at their regionals. That's affecting things. And we know a lot of folks got hired in 2023. Again, I call that the big dig. We'll see if it catches. For how many captains and maybe even FOs are sitting right now at a regional holding on to a CJO from one of the legacies and they're not telling anybody? You think they're going to go advertise the company? Hey, guess what? I got a CGO from Delta. I'll be leaving here in 6 months when I finally get my class date. Or Frontier, what's it take? Like 15 years to get a class date with them right now? I don't know what it takes. That's a big issue. Okay, for sure. So there's other reasons why, and I'm forgetting one of them right now. We got the flying, we've got the captains, we've got the what else? Oh, look, there's 500 or at least at some point here in this winter, there were 500 regional jets in the desert. The regionals parked aircraft just like the legacies did during COVID, and they didn't bring them out as much as the legacies did because why would they? The guys are leaving left and right. People are vacating the regionals at record numbers. So I hear, and you probably do too, Taco. Friends of mine at the regionals who are like, "Yeah, I got a ferry flight this week. I'm getting another jet, bringing a CRJ, and bringing out the desert. I'm bringing it once." They're bringing these jets out. So there's a myriad of reasons. It's not just one thing that's causing this rather epic lull in hiring. Now, I see guys saying, well, the regionals told me thanks, but no thanks. Well, you know what? It'd be like this. If you asked the prom queen out, but you didn't have a car to take her, you might be like, well, I just don't feel like going. Yeah. but the truth of the matter is the regionals do want to fly these jets and they are going to come back. So when do you think hiring will probably come back? Well, I would say we'll start seeing an increase after the busy summer. What do you think, Taco?
Same.
Yeah.
They cut back because once you get hired at our airline, you'll do a 2-week in dock, and then you go home for like 3 months,
And
and
they
then we
pay you.
and they pay you, and your job is to study those manuals, right, on your fresh new iPad that you have. So your job is to study and be well prepared by the time you show up for the sims and the classes, and And then what happens is you get a big backlog of guys. So to mitigate that backlog, they'll cut down on the hiring so that we'll weed through everybody and we'll get everybody done, and then we're caught up, take a deep breath, because on top of new hire training,
Exactly.
you also have to do, we're out flying, we're doing line checks on captains, new FOs, we're doing, um,
Right.
recurrent training for all line pilots coming back. We're doing regular bid run upgrades and base changes and aircraft changes and stuff. You know, you can now hold 777 FO out of, um, you know, DFW. So you're going to training, you're leaving the Airbus. So, I mean, there's a myriad of reasons why it slows down. And especially they want all hands on deck in the summertime to fly. And that's just trying to get people where they need to be. Now, I mean, there are times I'm sitting there, God, I was listening to the news tonight, and Florida is getting inundated and hammered, right?
Oh, man,
Miami
I know, Miami. Yeah, I held a
and
jet up yesterday trying to get back to DC just to get some Miami passengers on who were coming from Charleston.
yeah, it's horrible, the weather, and I got caught I got caught, 3 weeks ago. Well, it was in May, the end of May. I got caught in all the weather hangups we had here in Dallas. I mean,
Mm,
it was absolutely horrendous when Mother Nature moves in and takes over a hub like Dallas or Miami, which is key to the Caribbean and Latin America and South America, one of our major destination hubs. Boy, you just can't do anything about it, and that that kinda drives me nuts. I try to be polite as I can. You know, when you meet somebody, I don't know about you, Eric, but if I meet somebody at a party and they go, um "Hey, so you're an airline pilot. What airline do you fly for?" I always go, "United." And boy, they start to tell me about how United sucks. They lost my bag and I got stuck on the tarmac in Denver for 4 hours and blah, blah,
Oh.
blah, 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 and I'll let them go. And then I look at them. I go, "What do you think about American? Have you ever flown those guys?" And they're like, "Oh, yeah, American's good. I like American." I go, "Well, that's who I really fly for." "Well, then why didn't you tell me that? Why did you tell me United?" I go, "Because if I told you American, then I gotta sit here for 10 minutes and listen to you bash my airline about the time that," and so the truth be told, all airlines are the same, and all of us are A-type personality guys. We are we are all wanting to get stuff done, but when you're stuck on the tarmac and there are no gates, you can't do it. We had 68 vets fly in. I was supposed to be done at 4 PM on Friday last week, right? May 31st, I think that was Friday.
Right, right.
I got done flying on the 30th. I roll in, I'm helping bring all the vets come in. I've got General Brady, Medal of Honor recipient,
Ah,
who
Pat Brady.
Pat Brady
Love that
took off
guy.
from he took off from San Antonio to Dallas. The airplane circled, put in holding, landed in Austin because he ran out of gas, landed in Austin, got stuck in Austin for 8 hours with 7 of our, vets that were going on the trip with us. So, we've got a Medal of Honor recipient. We can't get special privileges to get that guy, released, and we didn't get him into the hotel till 2:30 that morning. So, I can understand why people's perceptions of the airlines suck, especially they don't get a hotel room. Well, they don't get a hotel room because you read the fine print and it says act of Mother Nature, act of God is weather. They're not going to give you a hotel room. So,
No, they're not. I love down here Brian Marshall Gomez, who is a fellow guy at our airline. He goes, I only say a different airline if the hotel discount is better. So
yeah, we
just
used to
say you
play
fly
that
for
game.
Southwest, you always get a better deal, right?
Yeah, 2 for 1. They asked for an ID though.
Yeah, I've never
So,
done it, but I bet somebody has. MW's got some more questions here. He says, for those of us that are at restricted ATP men's, do we think we have a shot at regionals? Okay, I answered that, Michael. And MW says, good for SkyWest to try and get pilots to stay and become PICs, but bad for pilots that could get stuck, possibly commute to junior base, upgrade in a different jet, ERJ or CRJ. Let me address that. So, MW, buddy, I feel you. I'm sorry you're not here with us. I wish you were. I could use the boost in seniority. Um, But while I was eating off of room service trays in the hallway, and I can promise you, people generally don't eat their salad or their breadsticks. You were probably living the good life as an enlisted guy, maybe, or even an officer in the military. And I was making $30 an hour. So let's shift the mindset on this, and let's get a little bit of perspective. And I'm not bashing you, because I totally get what you're saying. I just want you to understand how things have been. Getting stuck at a regional used to be called career progression. That used to be called the norm. So going to a regional and upgrading to PIC and doing 1,000 hours there, that used to be called like, wow, did you know somebody, an American? You got hired there with only 4,000 hours and you got hired?
Yeah.
Wow. You didn't need
Yeah.
10,000 hours and 2 master's degrees. The second thing you said, possibly commute to junior base. Hate to say it, that's your choice. If you think you're going to leave the military, go to a regional, and that your wife and you are never going to have to move again because you've paid your dues for 20 years in the military, you're thinking like your military service somehow translates. Nobody cares, honestly. And the fact of the matter is, you're going to airline boot camp. So your choice is to commute. You could move to New York. I know you don't want to, but you could move there and you wouldn't have to commute. And then ERJ to CRJ. That's a good point, MW. I agree with what you're saying about that, because I have had a friend of mine. He was actually talking. He was out for a year. He had a medical issue. He just got approved, and he was ready to flow from Envoy. But in order to do that, he had to have been, I think, a captain for a year. So he's
Yeah.
having to now go back and go to a different jet and spend a year, and then his flow will be honored. I think that's how it works. Totally fine with it. And then the last thing is, pilots will lose leverage in contract negotiations. No, they won't, because everybody who is a big airline already got their contract. The only people who haven't gotten, American, Alaska, Delta, United, Southwest, who hasn't got a contract yet? Some of the ultras, right? Oh, well, I hate to say it. I want them to get their contracts, but you know what? That time has passed. Regional pilots might. I don't think that we have to worry about how this is going to affect contract negotiations at regionals, because regionals kind of follow the flow of what the big guys do. If you're worrying about how your contract's going to affect you long term at a regional, you need to fly more and read the contract less. Probably fly like 100 hours a month.
Hey, if you want to make more money, join PSA, Envoy, and Piedmont.
Or
Become a
GoJet.
dang check airman. Upgrade to captain, become a check airman. Those guys were making $430 an hour.
Bro,
They were making more.
flew,
They were making more than I was.
I flew. I think I told you this, but I don't know if I did tell the rest of you guys. I flew a jump seat from Charlottesville to Charlotte past year, and that line check airman made $455,000 last year.
Yeah.
I was like, "Are you coming over for the float?" He's like, "I ain't coming to American. I'm making too much money."
Yeah. I mean, they're happy where they are.
You're
And
darn right.
that's the thing too. We talk about seniority. When you get to whatever airline you want to go to, back in the day, you had progression was 72 FE. I know nobody wants to hear the old days. 72 FE
Diplomas.
for years, right? And then you went right seat 72, which you had to go through the Nazi boot camp again on the 72, was just a horrible
Right.
program. And then the awesome jet was the Barbie jet. That was the Fokker F100. And you went from that, and you might have gotten the Super 80, and there were more of them, and then 73, then 75, 76, 777, and so on. But the problem
Right.
was, you either want to be a big fish in the little pond, and have the seniority, so you have the lifestyle. If you have the seniority, you have the lifestyle. If you're at a regional and you upgrade to captain, so many people are leaving to go to a major, you may find that, you know what, SkyWest isn't bad. Envoy is not bad. I'm actually, I fly Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, and I'm a check airman, and I make $450 an hour. You know what I mean? I mean, you gotta. What would we always say? I had that T-shirt that says "Embrace the suck" and always improve your place. Right? When we were in the
Your
war in
foxhole,
Iraq or
yeah.
Afghanistan, always improve your foxhole. Man, we turned the top of our control tower into a cigar bar. We got all these cigar places in the States to send us free cigars. And we created the coolest atmosphere in the middle of the war, you would go, "You guys suck. You know, you're air wingers." Yeah, we do, but it's a good time. So always improve what you have. If you're stuck at a regional, that may be the price that you pay, like
For
doing
being
a unaccompanied tour over in Korea or Japan. You got to do it for a year, or you get promoted to a certain rank. You got to go take that billet somewhere. So anyway,
and sometimes timing's everything. You
yeah,
know, timing can be everything. I know people I've flown with who are uh, so senior at this airline's crazy, and they've never been furloughed. They just hit the right time. There's no rhyme or reason for that. That just happens. But you know
blessed.
that's just part of it. Yeah, yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, Taco.
I
NW
never.
says I agree. He says, okay, yeah, it's now forcing it to move to junior base. Okay, I get what you're and forced upgrades do happen. I know it happens. Um, and that's something that you've got to accept. I know for a fact I love my FO schedule. Woo, I love my schedule. My schedule is good. I'm in the top 30% or so here in base. I'm getting the trips I want for the most part. I'm getting the days off I want. And look, I'm making more money than if I had gone to Saudi as a contractor, Taco, and taught the
Mhm.
Saudis how to fly. This is crazy. Am I in a rush to upgrade? No, I'm fine. But I know that American could force me to upgrade, right? They could
Nah,
if they wanted to. Well,
no,
you
they
don't think
won't
so?
force you. But I mean, I kind of laugh about this comment because this is the same mentality. Oh, woe is me. I got to upgrade. I'm forced to upgrade. Now I don't want to go to whatever. But then they get over to Delta or American, and it's like, man, I want to be captain somewhere, right? So I'll be captain every junior crap base we have.
See, maybe MW is like me and he just wants to skate, you know. But then again, I had friends of mine that went to the regionals and skated the entire time, and they were like way in the back of the party trying to get to a legacy because they just never flew.
Yeah,
So MW, maybe you're like me, and if that's the choice you have, I wasn't aware of that, Taco. I've heard captains tell me different things, but if they did tell me to upgrade, guess what? It's a whole lot better to upgrade in a jet. Maybe I don't want to and commute than it is to get shot at in Afghanistan. And
yeah,
you know what? Eventually, you'll be senior enough to go back to the jet you want and the base you want. Guarantee it. But
yeah.
seniority is everything.
Yeah, these the new hires that were getting LaGuardia, they're getting Miami or whatever. They don't want that. They want Dallas. They want LA. I mean, by the time they actually got back 3 months later to training, a bid cycle had gone through, and they got it. They
True.
they
That
were
could happen. That
they
could
were
happen.
literally. I'm like, so where are you based? Well, I was LaGuardia, but this is the last bid run. I get done with training. I'm going to be Dallas. I'm like, Dallas, the senior base, master base, and you're going to be Dallas? Yep. Like, wow.
So
Just
MW, yeah, I'm
yeah.
sorry, Taco, but MW, if you do get forced to upgrade, look at it like this. Now you're being forced to accelerate your career to get to your destination airline. You got to look back at the opposite of what you're going through. And I know it's tough, but the opposite of what you're going through is guys waiting 25 years, 25 years.
To upgrade.
This guy to upgrade. How many years did it take you?
25 years.
25 years, man.
It was actually
Woo!
no. God, I'm sorry. I've been here 26 years. It was 16 years before the day I could upgrade was that 16-year mark, and I was wide body, and I was enjoying the lifestyle, wide body. I was never gonna leave wide body, except that my dad shamed me into upgrading. I took my mom and dad on a ferry flight. They sat in the jump seats behind me. It was a Part 91 flight. So
Right.
my dad says, "Hey, this is great and all, but I'd like to fly with my son, the captain, before I die." And so I upgraded. And you think that son of a bitch has flown with me? Not once. I go, "Dad, hey, I got this flights wide open to El Paso. Why don't you go with me?" And he goes, "Oh, no, I've already flown with you. It's okay." "Yeah, but I was an FO back then." "Yeah, it's okay. I've already
I
flown with you."
love it.
You know,
That is
but uh,
that
but
that
here's
is awesome.
but it was 16 years before I could upgrade. It was 20 before I did. So now actually I'm going on 27 years. So 98. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Another thing that I got asked to talk about tonight are the ULCCs. And I don't have a lot of information on this, but a lot of folks are talking about are the ultra low cost carriers struggling. You know, we see them in Dallas. I see that Spirit Jet's always parked over there by the bridge. and I'm wondering what's going to go on. I was like, maybe I could use that little 320. But I can tell you this, that the regional model seems to be shifting. I mean, when I was at a ULCC, the CEO threatened all the time that they were going to go ahead and they were going to change their model. They were going to go to day trips. You got to think that these companies have like half of their pilots and flight attendants commuting. So that could prove, difficult. They're talking about maybe now adding a first class or, a different kind of experience. It's tough to know what the ULCCs are going to do. I think, did you see Scott Kirby was talking about that this past week, Taco? Made
No,
a
I'm
comment.
out of it.
Yeah, so he made a comment that said he thinks that basically Spirit and Frontier are going to go out of business.
Well, Spirit is that airplane you're talking about. Those airplanes get stuck over there. That's something with the engines. They were changing the engines
they
out
had
on
problem with
those
the
things.
Pratts. Yeah, they're having problems with those, and that's it's a tough time. I think about the late John DeFranco, who left us a week ago, passed away from
Godspeed,
cancer.
John. Yeah.
God bless his family. God bless Graham and everybody. We certainly still keeping you in our prayers. And John and Taco and Bob Thrush, they were the three. That was the trifecta. Okay, that was the airline trinity of mentors that I had, in addition to Mark Cuppernall, and a lot of other folks, but Warren Russell. But these guys dogpiled on me because I think they saw that I was a part of something that was gaining steam, so they took it upon them. And he used to tell me, here's the steps in airline career. And he said, Erik, you'll know if you make the right decision when you retire. He said, step one, fly as much as you can, as fast as you can until you get your ATP. Step two, fly as much as you can, as fast as you can until you upgrade at your regional. Step three, fly as much as you can, as fast as you can until you get 1,000 hours of turbine PIC, or you go to a lifeboat job like an ultra low cost carrier. Step four, fly as much as you can, as fast as you can until you're not flying for an airline that has a website or a phone number printed on the side of the fuselage of any of their aircraft. Okay. That was the best advice I ever got. And if you have not paid attention during COVID, these airlines got a lot of public money, and I'm glad they did because we are part of the infrastructure. But if I'm looking at an airline, I'm saying to myself, where do I want to be? It ain't one that's been around since Seinfeld came on the air. It has to be an airline that's been around since the Roaring 20s. That's the one I want to be. That's the team I want to be on. And
Yeah.
I'm glad that I got to a legacy,
What was the name of that book? Do I have it? God dang, man.
A little fire engine that could.
No.
I
It's
want that back, by the way.
yeah. It's no C Spot Run. That was the one you wanted. It's a book about the airlines, and the upstarts of airlines are based off
Flying the line.
No, it's
not flying the
it's
line.
based off the carcasses of dead upstarts like Value Jet and all those guys.
Oh yeah.
So it's gonna 2 o'clock this morning. I'm tired. 2 o'clock this morning will come up. Hard landings. Yes, thank you guys. Jason, MW,
Oh
Kyle.
yes,
Hard
good.
landings. Hard
Yeah,
landings. That's it. So
yeah. They all
so back
dogpiled at the same time. It's
back
great.
back in '98. Oh, they all knew. I mean that
Yeah,
book. If you guys haven't read that book, read Hard
I
Landings
knew
because
Jason knew.
you just go, holy crap, man, what am I getting myself into? Like the old pizza guy, delivery guy that brought the pizza, the famous thing where, he says, hey, you married or single? Oh, I'm single. Good. Stay single. Never get married. If you're married, never get divorced. If you get divorced, she'll take you for half. International flight attendant will give you 5 years, cut you off the knees, take the other half, never have a captain's house, always have modest FO's house, never put your
Smart
retirement in
advice.
company stock, save your money like companies going out of business tomorrow, live where you're based for quality of life. Where's this advice coming from, Mr. Pizza Man? Captain Smuckatelli, Eastern Airlines. So when you read that book, Hard Landings, I had a little egg on my face because back in 99, I was out with a buddy of mine who was a Navy F-14 guy, and he got hired at this little upstart called JetBlue, and he was there for 6 months. He upgraded to captain, so he was a plank owner right away up to captain. And I go, hey, have you updated your app with American? He goes, F American. I'm with a real airline. I'm like, look, man, Jazz, I don't mean to belittle this new airline you're with, but the airlines are paved with the dead carcasses of upstarts like all yours, so, you know, maybe you ought to think about it. Well, then 9/11 happened, and guess what? I was actually contemplating sucking my pride up and writing him and asking for a letter of recommendation to get hired
Happens,
because I
sure.
thought I'm gonna get furloughed, right? But, they're still around, which is amazing. I didn't think they would be after all these years because of the deals that they had with Airbus to help pay for the maintenance, and I thought, surely when that's done, those guys have to pay for their own maintenance. It's gonna really suck hind tit. Um, but now go back. So they had new airplanes, right? They weren't a fleet of old broken down airplanes start a new airline. American had huge debt, and people used to go, "Oh, don't go to American. Don't go to American because they got this huge debt." And you're going, "Yeah, they got huge debt because they invested and bought all of these new airplanes before now you can't get airplanes, or the airplanes that we're getting have issues, right?" So when you look at that debt, that's because we invested in the company and bought new jets. Other airlines now are suffering because their broken old jets, just basically aren't making it. Um, let's see. Yeah, Jason, you're right. Phenomenal book as well as Sky Gods about the story of Pan Am, Rise and Fall. All of them, man.
Oh,
I'll
yeah, I haven't read that.
tell you what. Any information on the Alaska acquisition of Hawaii? I think the
There
growth
was a
afterwards
lawsuit
would be
about that.
amazing.
There was some sort of, injunction or something where the companies were asking, the court to, reject whatever is going on. Uh, but, I don't know. I mean, it brings up a good point. If the JetBlue and Spirit merger wasn't, approved, then how can the Hawaiian and the Alaska merger be approved? But we're moving into new territory. A lot
Yeah,
if
that would
depending
make it.
on yeah.
That would
Well,
be
if these
huge.
if the election happens, certainly a Republican administration, especially if they own both parts of the Congress, the House and the Senate, would be more probably open to these mergers. I think that they're more, I think they're probably more friendly to it, probably more friendly to talking about the 1,500-hour rule and adjusting it.
Yeah,
Probably more interested in doing things like that. Who knows? This election is going to definitely shift a lot of discussions and a lot of talk. But yeah, it's a good one. For my Hawaiian and Alaskan friends, I think it would be awesome for them.
yeah.
That'd be kind of cool.
Joe, pitch new FO, put a plug in for FlexJet. You know what? I don't have anything negative to say about any of those. I have lots of friends that fly. They're Marine guys and Marine buddies of mine that were flying for FlexJet and these other companies, and they love it. I mean, they've been there for 20 years since we got out. They won't go anywhere else. They love that
Yeah.
lifestyle.
And these ultras, I mean, I can find 15 good things to say about every ultra low cost carrier. You go down JetBlue, like you said, it's become an iconic brand. It's a Northeast brand. They're doing the Mint. They're crossing the ocean. You look at Sun Country. They're getting people into class quickly. And that's a big deal. If you're waiting 10 months, for Frontier to get you in class, that could be a problem.
Mm,
Allegiant's like licorice, man. They are at home almost every single night. For the most part, they're doing turns. Look at Breeze. Breeze is making a profit. Founded by the same guy who founded JetBlue. I mean,
right.
those guys seem to be liking their stuff. You know, I can go down the list and tell you reasons why you should work for any airline. When I do consultations, I don't tell people to go to American or Delta or United. I listen. I spend like 15 minutes. And I listen to everything they say, and then based upon that, I filter it and I aggregate it and I say, okay, based on what you've said and what you say you want, this is where I think you should probably focus on. But they're all fine places to go. So and FlexJet, hey, that's another big selling. Xenia, it's just proved my point because there's Xenia, who's one of the most awesome human beings I've ever met. I love her
Yeah.
to death. My goodness gracious, I love Xenia. She's so cool. And a recruiter, both at the regional and at the legacy level. I'm sure she heard me talk many times about why are our taggers great for the regionals? Well, because a lot of them are 20-year vets with a full retirement and healthcare. So they may not be so super interested in going to a legacy as long as they can get quality of life and fly jets because
Yep.
they were going to go work for air ambulance company making 40 grand a year. And now those jobs have gone up too. So in a lot of ways, our taggers may be the ideal community to go target if you're a regional recruiter or an ultra low cost carrier recruiter, because they're not the shaved tail 21-year-old kid who needs that validation to go fly being wide body captain. They've already proven themselves. They maybe just want to make captain at Eagle and make what, double what I'm making
Yeah, I
right
mean,
now.
I'm telling you, those
Nothing wrong
check
with that.
airmen.
Good for
I
them.
ran into a PSA check airman in Charlotte one day who was a buddy of mine. He's a 130 guy, and I go, "Hey, when are you doing the flow?" And he goes, "Screw the flow, dude. I'm making so much money." And I'm like, and he shows me a picture of his new boat, and I'm like, "Ah, nice."
One of the cool things too, Taco, is that I was looking the other day. Our 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 retirements, here, and we have a lot. We have the most, right? I think what
Yeah.
United has the second, Delta has the. There's so many at all of them, especially the legacies. That whether you stay at your regional, where you come to a legacy, whether you go to an ultra low cost carrier, whether you go to FlexJet, NetJet, PlaneSense, Wheels Up, whatever, that sucking sound from the top is still huge. I don't think that the retirements actually normalize until I'm close to retirement myself.
Well,
I
it's
mean,
going to be. I think in about the next 7 or 8 years.
and
I
which
mean,
is halfway to retirement for me.
yeah, I've got 6
you know,
years left, right? 6 years left. I can start when I hit the 2-year mark, you're gonna hear a sonic boom one day, and that's the sound of my pack straps dropping when I hit the quick release
you're not
because,
leaving. That's
oh,
another thing.
hell yeah.
What do you think about age 67? Because I think
Screw that.
A Republican administration would be more,
Well,
open to that.
they can do all they want is think that's a stopgap. It's not gonna be a stopgap at all because
Oh, I don't argue that at all. I think you're 100%
IKO,
right.
they've got the international stuff has to change it to 67. So let's say they do change it to 67. Otherwise, all these now 65 plus 1 month guys aren't going to be able to fly wide body. So they're going to have to go back and they're going to go back and be a narrow body captain. Oh,
Well,
come
let's
on.
just assume that ICAO acquiesces and they go with 67 and it's all hunky dory. At that point, do you think that there'll be a lot of folks that will stay, or will they just drop long-term disability and be like,
Well,
"No, I'm just gonna,"
how many times have they been divorced?
or how much sick leave do they have?
Yeah,
I know guys with 1,000 hours of sick leave, man.
well,
If you're,
I've got a lot of sick leave too, but they changed it in the contract, so at least you get some money back when you retire.
I
But
don't know anything about it, but I heard a guy say that if you have 800 more than 800 hours and you're a captain, that you're leaving money on the table by taking it with you or something like that.
you could be,
Uh,
but you know what? I don't call in sick unless I'm sick.
yeah, same
And what
here. Or I
and
got
what
yeah.
and what's funny is I always get sick on like days off. I have 3 days off and I pick up the 24-hour bug, and I'm like, God, man, why couldn't this happen right
I
before
had
my
one
trip?
happen over where I had back-to-back trips because I was trying to be hardcore and I was doing 5 days in a row and 3 and 2. And someone gave me COVID last fall, and I got COVID right over it. And I saw him, and he's like, "Hey, man, did you get sick?" I'm like, "Yeah, buddy, I did." He goes, "Did you get the COVID leave?" I'm like, "I had COVID." He's like, "Yeah, you did." I'm like, "Oh man, I didn't even know. I was just sick. Tess didn't even get sick. The dog just hung out."
um,
Reggie got back from Papa. There you go. Uh,
Predict 2025 will be another big hiring year of 2,000 pilots each. What are your thoughts on their predictions? Yeah, it could be. It's the choke point, guys, is training. That's if we don't have aircraft deliveries, that's a problem. The simulators, the number of we're putting in sims left and right.
yeah.
Um, and then, you know, uh, it's the training. So I think 2000 is a ambitious number, and I'm somebody on here can probably correct me because I'm wrong. Um, I want to say we hired, what did we do? 1,800, 2,000, 2,200. I have
I
to go
don't
back and
care as
find a
long as
slide.
they're junior to me.
Yeah, we
But
did a lot of hiring, and now I think it's going to go back probably somewhere between 1,800, 2,000. But I'm speaking not officially. It's just
yeah, for
I
sure.
see a choke point with training being the issue.
I do think that the ultra low cost carriers are in for a shakeup of some kind, and I do believe that the direct to major phenomenon is over. I'm sorry, you're probably going to have to go to regional, and that's okay. I went to regional. If
Yeah.
you're not a military fixed wing guy or gal, that's the price you pay for not applying yourself and getting that job earlier. And if it was something you can't control, well, you live in America where you can go be an airline pilot, even if you once was living on the street and sleeping in parked cars and eating out trash cans, like somebody I know back in the early 90s once. So it's what a great country you live in. But yeah, I see an increase at the regionals. And then the legacies, I would think that they would probably continue to hire a good bit. But that golden period, that big dig period, man, folks who got in the front side of that, whoo,
Yeah.
boy, I probably
You're talking about
amassed more people behind me than it would normally have taken a guy in several years in the old days.
how many people do you have behind you?
I don't even know. I'm at 12 something and we're like, what, close to 17 now?
Oh, you know what? Here, let me do this for you, my friend. I will pull it up
I
as
think
we
I've got
speak.
close to 20% below me, 22%,
Yeah,
maybe even 22. I don't know, somewhere around there.
22%.
I don't know, maybe more. I'm 12, 9, 16.
Okay, so my seniority number is basically it's 3247, but that of course is they're saying relative, so I'm really like 20 2600 or something like that. The lowest seniority in the system is 17,086.
Are you serious?
We're at
I was
17,000
kidding. I
right
didn't
now.
think we were over 17,000.
Yeah,
I'm looking up my stuff right now. I am 12,919. Yeah, lowest is 17,086. So, and I'm 47 out of 133 in my bid status, 35.34%.
not bad.
I flew with a captain the other day who's got less than a year here at American, and he's going to retire around like 3 to 4,000. Bro, that's where I'm going to be. And he's been doing this for like 20 years longer than I have. That's ridiculous. I feel
Yeah,
dirty telling people that.
yeah. I'd rather be sick at home than stuck in a hotel. I agree with you. I'd rather be at home and sick. And
Unless my
my
wife's with
wife
me.
asked me if, yeah, my wife asked me if I want some chicken soup. MWAA hired 749 so far this year, updated
That's a lot.
June 6th. I
That's exactly what 749 more than they hired during the lost decade.
oh God, yeah.
So that's crazy.
Let's see, Brian, man, he's 12,300 ish out of 17,000. I flew IOE for a captain who was 15,000 or something like that. I mean, it was insane. So
Really? Good for him or her. Good for
that
them.
person, good for that
I,
person.
and that's one thing I do like about the legacies is that there are so many people and so many domiciles. And even though we only run what, like 4 types, Delta has a lot more than us. There's a lot more jets. It's not like you're a single type. And you have wide bodies. So there are people, even if you don't want to leave, there's people in front of you who do. There's people in front of you who want that jet or want that domicile or they want to do wide body. So there's more opportunities for you to move up because there's more things sucking people away from you on the top.
Yeah,
You know,
you were talking about the suck, that big suction. They talk about well, they talk about we bring all the tides up, right? All tides
yeah,
rise. All the boats rise with high tide, and that is exactly what's happening. So the where I hung out with you at HAI, and those guys wouldn't hire you because you didn't have 5,000 hours helo time and MVG time to be a EMS guy or some BS. Now those guys are having to pay more because they can't get the guys, and maybe they've
yeah,
lowered their times a little bit too. So it's helped out because maybe you want to be an EMS guy. Who knows?
exactly. But on the flip side of this is the ability for me to, I have a social media business where I do social media for businesses on the side. I'm a partner at Icarus Devices. You work so hard to get to this level, And then when you get here, you have all this time off. The captain I was flying with yesterday said he flew with a gal, and she's a medical doctor with a
Really?
practice. Yeah, you know,
Oh,
I was like,
man.
he's like, oh yeah, she's wicked smart, and you know, there's be patient because when you get here, you may find your wife saying, "Don't you have another trip to go to?" "Oh, he'll be gone tomorrow." You
Yeah, or
know?
you know what, I mean, there was a 3-month period where I never flew. I had to go back for landings, that was it, and
Yeah, for sure.
my daughter went up and said, "Hey, honey, mom, did dad get fired?" And she goes, "No, honey, why?" "Well, he hadn't gone to work in a long time." She goes, "No, we're still getting a
Megan said
paycheck."
that?
Susan. Yeah,
Oh, that's hilarious, man.
yeah, or,
That's
you
hilarious.
could be the guy sitting there building Hummers. That's your new hobby now, right? Taking taking a Hummer that looked like that, there's Susan in
I liked
there,
it
and
better, with the pickup bed on the thing.
yeah, you know what? They're just fun.
The thing you
You
gotta
know, I
have, you gotta have rivets in it. Oh, there it is. Look at that
yeah,
beautiful
I
piece.
still got I still got it. Anybody who wants to buy a armored, Ferret, that's my armor scout car right there.
Bring it up
Um,
here to, Virginia for Vacation Bible School. We're doing a Army Navy theme. We
yeah,
need we need that.
contact me. This is my neighborhood watch, right? We all have Hummers
Oh,
in the
that's
neighborhood
fantastic.
now. So
One of
it's
these
a
days, I'm gonna get a Willys, one of these days when I get a chance.
Hey, anybody know these guys from the 571st? If anybody knows these
That
guys,
blonde dude looks familiar to me. I have to. You know
they were
what? I
my
could
571st guys, and,
send it to me. I'll post it in the Blackhawk pilots group and the Blackhawk crew chief group. I guarantee
okay,
somebody will know. Remind me of
yeah,
that. We got another question here. Should I wait for our tag to go to an event? Um,
where'd I miss
no,
that? Oh,
it's right above that one. Um, and here's why. I had a major airline recruiter call me the other day to talk about our taggers. And so on my day off, and he's a good friend. I've known him since before this whole crazy thing started. And he said, if I see a guy or a gal go to an event, and I'm like, okay, cool. If I see him at two events, I'm like, oh. And so I'll just say, I'll tell you what the recruiter said. It does make a difference to him, at least, to see you at more than one event. If there's opportunities to get yourself in front of people, that's what you need to be doing. But the number one way that people do it these days is social media. And I'd say that 99.9% of people I talk to don't have any idea of how social media works, how the algorithms work, how the pages work. And that, again, it's like that has nothing to do. It's like being a captain versus being really good at flying your jet. They're two different skills, right? Just because you're a pilot doesn't mean, or you're on social media, doesn't mean you know how to network on social media. So you need to, if you're not, Stacy Sheard from Heli Expo, right? From HAI, the gal that I think initially kicked us out. I don't know if it was her or Mark. One of them kicked us out of the Mill to Civ thing, the original RTAG band, which John DeFranco was in, and Tim Kirschbaum and David Piggott. The three of them, those scoundrels, went to Vegas and they got themselves kicked out. They all made it nice. John, actually, as always, was the elder statesman. He made nice and they got to keep their table. I digress. But Stacy would always say, hey, start 3 years out. That didn't change just because we started going to the airlines. For those of you who think that, I mean, every week I hear from somebody, hey, I put my application to JetBlue and they just didn't call me yet. Well, what have you been doing? If I could spend 8 to 12 hours a day on social media in the beginning of our tag, Taco will tell you it's true. Take up to 22 phone calls a day for 7 years. I did that for 7 years. Did I do it for myself? I'm not trying to be stuck up, but I'm kind of a go-getter. I know I have an issue. Uh, I don't think I would have needed it to get to a legacy at some point. I think eventually probably would have made it to a legacy because that's just the personality. I did that for you guys. If I would do that for you to create opportunities for the charity, then why can't you spend the same amount of time? If you're not on there networking, asking captains, hey, can I ask you a little bit about the airline? Hey, if you have some time at OBAP in August or LPA in September, can I come by and ask you some questions? Get to know people. Don't be fake and cheesy about it, but get to know people. That's how you're going to get your interview, guys. And yes, you need to go to RTAG, but don't put all your eggs in the RTAG basket. I mean,
yeah,
go to other
show up at the other
events.
ones, and
Yeah.
and I love answering questions as well, but when I get the, "Hey, I've got, 100 hours and I just got my PPL, blah, blah, blah. What do you think I ought to do now?" know your audience. I'm the wrong guy to ask that question. When you get hired at my airline and you get 737s, I am the guy to talk to you about VNAV and how to navigate VNAV.
And it automatically does the descent for you in case you forget to go down. Amazing. So unfair.
Yeah, if you reset the MCP, don't forget that little nod. Yeah.
Right, right. I've heard that
Uh,
too. Yeah. But yeah,
but
don't go to Taco and say, "Hey man, I've got 300 hours in airplanes. It's time for my recommendation."
yeah. Showing up's half the battle. Airlines record your attendance to the events. Yes, it could be. Could be
I
what
think
separates
Brian
you
used to
from
be a
someone else.
recruiter at an airline, so I think he would know.
I think he does know.
Yeah.
We got some great folks on here, man. There were like at one time there were about 50 some people spread between Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So you know
Yeah, they
what? I
saw
think
me.
we ought to.
They thought it was a new episode of The Simpsons, but then they said, "Oh no,
I think we ought to wrap it up, brother, and then
let's wrap it up."
We'll plan on doing another one, and we can definitely talk about some more stuff that's coming up. Everybody that's still on and you're listening, go through, write your questions that you have, and post it on the different platforms, whatever you're listening to this podcast on. Then we can go back and we can take those questions and we can
LG LG
do
had
some
one.
stuff.
LG, find me on. I'll help you. Okay, so find me.
Yeah, you know what?
That's a
So
discussion.
then we'll be able to help you, and we can address those questions as a group. Because if somebody has one question, I guarantee you 10 have the same.
Can I ask everybody, all 34 who are still on here, do me a favor? Tomorrow night on Sabiston Consulting Group, which is not the same as Sabiston Consulting. I'm not trying to advertise my business. I know one on our tag, I would never do that. However, I am giving a free, 100% free consultation for anybody who is at Spirit, Atlas. Who's the other ones affected? I can't think of who other ones were. It's on my thing. If you need help, again, guys, don't delete this because I made that comment. But if people need help, I'm helping them for free, no charge. So I'll do an event tomorrow night, 7 p.m. on my
Yeah,
line.
you know what? Sabby is a great wealth of information. So don't hesitate to ask. And yeah, here we go. Spirit, Atlas, and iAero.
And I think Amerijet, although the Amerijet guys are like, we're fine. You were talking about like bankruptcy or stuff a while back. I don't care. I hope you do keep your jobs, but I'm not charging anything. So come out anyway. I'll help you. I don't
Yeah.
want to see anybody hurting.
Will there be a tall tales about the D-Day experience?
That's a good question. Is there going to be one?
Oh, you're looking at me. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm using a screen. I'm giving
Oh,
stage. It's like that
yeah.
guy over
Yeah,
there.
actually, go the other way. I'm on
Is
I
it?
flipped this.
Oh, you
Yeah,
flipped
there
this?
you go, there you go.
Oh,
So, yeah, there you go. So,
okay.
yes, I am gonna talk about it because it was humbling. Well, first of all, it was the first time I'd ever been to Normandy for, ever. I mean, the highlight of my career was going I've got a big giant poster on the wall over here signed by all the vets who made it back to Iwo Jima for the 50th anniversary of the Battle of
Wow.
Iwo Jima. And that poster, I told my wife, when I die, don't sell it for $1 at a garage sale. I'm sure the Marine Corps Museum would love to have that because I recorded every single person that made it on this big giant Iwo Jima poster. So to be able to go back to Normandy, to Omaha Beach and Utah Beach, that was absolutely it doesn't the movies do not depict it well enough, I think, because I didn't realize, at so far out in low tide that those guys landed so that they could avoid all the um, those X's the Germans planted that were trying to rip the boats open, that they would ride over it and they would cut the boats open.
Yeah.
Those diagonal or whatever you call them,
Yeah,
the
I know what you're talking
crosses that
about.
they had out there
Yeah.
from the time that those guys landed and then they had to make it across all that open territory and get up, I didn't realize how frigging um, hilly the beach, going up to the beach. There's all these hills out there, and it's really rolling hills once you get past it. Um, yeah, so it's incredible. And when you talk about standing there and oh, what do you call those big the bushes? Um,
Oh, the hedgerows.
the hedgerows. Thank you. Like I told you, my brain shot. The hedgerows. You could have a company hiding on the other side of that thing. You would never know.
Yeah.
You would never ever have a clue that the company of Germans were on the other side. Just a fascinating deal. Um, oh, Reggie asked about this. What's up with the Southwest 73 getting a Dutch roll? All right, I read that and I had to laugh. The only thing in my mind that would cause a 737 to Dutch roll is the yaw damper coming off.
Hmm.
If
Okay.
if the yaw damper comes off, the airplane has a tendency to do a big Dutch roll. So how do I know that? Well,
Because
once
you're yeah.
once as a new guy, I can say that when I came off the 7.8 as a new captain, all blue lights are good on the 7.8. And I looked up and he said generators and just muscle memory. I'm like, blue lights. Oh, on. They're good. Blue lights. And then we get to the end of the runway and I realize, oh crap, I left the APU on. How did I do that? Scold myself. Reach up, turn the APU off, and the whole airplane goes whoosh. Because stupid 737, thanks to Southwest, we have to manually put our generators online after each engine start. And
Okay.
like it's like an idiot, somehow I didn't do that. I missed it as a brand new guy. Um, anyway, we take off. Well, what happens is, everything goes dark. I realize my mistake. I put the generators online, get everything back, and then three things happen. Um, the auto throttles kick off, the auto brakes kick off, and the yaw damper kicks off. And so as we took off, we're climbing up. We're probably like through 4,000 feet. The flight attendants call up and they're like, "I don't know what's going on back here, Taco, but this whole airplane's really like making us sick." And I'm like, "Yaw, oh, roll, yeah, oh, yaw damper, click. Oh yeah, we hit
I
some
just I just tried to
milestones."
find a better news source, and it was just saying it was like a little tail wagging, happened at 32, and,
Yeah, he was saying
they said
overspeed.
they found damage to a PCU upon landing.
There
I
you
don't
go.
know, and it
Could
was
have a
ferried to Seattle for
issue with
further
that.
inspection. I mean, the FAA is pretty on top of that stuff. I mean, there's a lot of clickbait out there, but I mean, just looking at it, it looks like it was an isolated incident. It doesn't look like anything that's systemic or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, anytime right now, Boeing sneezes and it's like, "Oh, Boeing sneezed, ah!" So, I
Yeah,
mean, it's
yeah,
not
they're always going after. They're always after me Lucky Charms.
that's
Um,
right.
thanks for your time and effort to help us understand, miss the opportunity at Fort and where's Fort Nova? What is Fort Novacell?
That's the old Fort Rucker.
Oh, oh,
It's named
just say it, Rucker.
yeah, well, Notice he's a Medal of Honor recipient, so if you're gonna rename it, I'm fine with that, but,
Is that good? I don't know him.
yeah, he was awesome. He was a great pilot, bomber pilot in the Army, Air Corps,
Oh,
and then went to Vietnam, became a war officer.
oh, I have to look.
Well,
I have
cool.
to
Yeah,
look
if you
that
need
up.
help, guys, hit me up. Mateo, for sure.
Yep. Hey, thanks everybody for joining. I appreciate it, and hope it helped out. Until we see you next time, you guys have a great one. All right.
Hoorah.
Hoorah. I'm gonna drop you off. Hold on a second, Savvy. You guys take care. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much. Adios. Hasta luego. Auf Wiedersehen. Tschüss. Sheshini. Au revoir. Domarigato gozaimasu. Shinde. Kudasai. Ciao. Arrivederci. Tashakor. Assalamu alaikum. Mahala. Do widzenia. Das vidania. I think I got them all. You guys take care. And let's see, what am I going to end with? Don't forget to post your questions so that we can try to figure out some stuff to talk about. I'm going to do this one. Take care.